These old eyes have seen many a summer come and go. When they were very young, they saw the herds of buffalo that once fed and prospered on the green mantle that crowns the rich soil of our Middle West. We all know the story of the buffalo, how advancing railroad lines and the insatiable demand for buffalo robes and buffalo steaks finally drove the few remaining animals to sanctuary in remote corners of public lands. But there is one part of the buffalo story few of us have heard. Legend has it that even though the grass was just as green and lush in all directions, buffalo always observed a mysterious, entirely unseen fence line. They'd eat right up to it. Then they'd turn around, turn back to their old grazed-over pasture, leaving a vast expanse of untouched grass behind them. This legend does not seem so strange in light of modern knowledge. Soil scientists and nutritionists tell us that some grass, though as rich and green in appearance as other grasses, lacks certain nutritional factors. They tell us that buffalo with unlimited pasture unerringly chose the food that best fit the nutritional needs of their great shaggy bodies. The day of the buffalo is past, and unlimited pasture is merely a phrase from the past to recall rich memories. But understanding gained through past experience lives on. Learning from the past is still a way of looking forward more clearly. Today, a young man starting out in the livestock or poultry production business knows that his animals must depend upon him for proper nutrition. Therefore, he must know something about nutrition. He knows he has to think in terms of nutrients rather than ingredients. For animal nutrition is not just a matter of grain and grass anymore, or even protein, fat, and fiber. Today, we are entering the golden age of animal nutrition because of vitamins, trace minerals, hormones, and antibiotics. Behind manufactured feed supplements is the accumulated knowledge of scientists, nutritionists, educators, chemists, feed manufacturers, and thoughtful farmers. To succeed as farmers, we must all keep abreast of developments. But when we look over the farm journals, the experiment station reports, and the feed ads, animal nutrition seems pretty complex. Scientific. Well, it is scientific. But what of it? Scientific merely means effective. You don't have to be a laboratory scientist to produce livestock scientifically, effectively, profitably. When chore time rolls around and we start out for the broiler house, hog pen, or barn, each of us becomes, in effect, a scientist. Our daily chores are simple scientific steps to efficient animal production. Common things that experienced farmers know are actually basic principles, scientific principles that help in the business of producing broilers, turkeys, hogs, calves, or any other bird or animal. It's scientific to provide proper feed. It's common sense to have well-bred birds or animals. Waste is unscientific. Therefore, we supply the feed to the animals so they will eat it and won't waste it. We supply water. Keep enough water always available because animals need water to convert feed to profit. And two, some method of controlling temperature and ventilation for the animals is essential. But perhaps most important of all, we must have an interest in the critters. A sort of green thumb, you might say, an awareness that helps us notice the first sign of trouble of any sort. If we slight just one of these everyday, ordinary things, we become unscientific and lose profit. It's scientific to have good stock, for instance, because each chick in the flock has a capacity for growth that is inbred. Each chick starts life with it. Each calf comes into the world with a predetermined ability to produce beef or milk. The day it's born, every farm animal is already endowed by breeding with its own individual growth and development potential. Each shoat represents an inbred potential of growth, of pork, of profit. An animal of good stock has this growth potential. But the potential growth of an animal of poor stock, in spite of identical care and feeding, may be substantially less. So, of course, we choose the good stock. Your job is to bring him to his potential as efficiently as possible. That means as cheaply as possible, as safely as possible, and as fast as possible. Now, you can produce meat by feeding just grain and water. But few farmers do now because it's wasteful. It wastes your time. It wastes your grain. And it wastes your money. Young animals are not equipped by nature to convert grain alone into meat efficiently. You control their feeding, and they eat only the feed you give them. For example, 12 bushels of corn will be used to produce 100 pounds of pork. Yet 6 bushels of corn plus 60 pounds of supplement adds to the feed extra proteins, extra building blocks of growth which speed growth, extra minerals, adding more building blocks of growth, extra vitamins, including B12, the anemia-controlling vitamin, essential to animals as well as humans. This feed and supplement combination will bring the pig to market weight in 6 to 7 months. Finally, the most dramatic animal nutrition discovery in recent years. An entirely new growth factor, oreomycin, added to the feed supplement and corn combination, will cut the feed required by an additional 10% and will bring the pig to market weight in from 5 to 5½ months instead of the 10 to 11 required with corn alone. And all the while, the growing animals will be safer. They will have protection against nutritional deficiency diseases and have higher resistance to other diseases. Because of this, you will be able to get more of them from here to here, and much faster. So this is your formula for profit. The kind and amount of feed you use affects the rate of growth and the health and safety of the animals, and it represents your major production cost. So obviously, the less feed you use, the greater your chance for profit. Oreomycin, the golden wonder drug, already famous for healing human disease, became the key subject in a whole series of costly animal nutrition tests and experiments when research scientists and animal nutritionists at Letterly Laboratories discovered this entirely new growth factor. They were searching simply for a source of vitamin B12 when they discovered in oreomycin fermentation products a mysterious spur to normal growth of young animals. When minute quantities of the wonder drug were mixed with an already balanced feed, there was an amazing effect on animal growth. Cautious, costly, time-consuming experiments proved that this growth response was above and beyond the normal growth response from other nutritional factors. The early growth of chickens, for instance, was indeed spectacular. In addition, feathering was more rapid and complete, shanks were yellower, and death losses were reduced. Comparisons of weight and development told truly remarkable stories. Always, the birds with the trace amounts of oreomycin added to their diet were heavier. The same amazing response held true for young dairy cattle. Adding oreomycin seemed to get them off to a better start. Dogs responded to the new growth factor too. Rabbits grew larger faster with less enteritis. And mink grew thick, luxurious coats at a speedier rate when small amounts of oreomycin were added to the diet. But of course, the important detailed experiments centered on more common farm animals. In each instance, the animal receiving the aureomycin in his diet grew faster than his litter mate on the same diet without the aureomycin. Other research institutions, experiment stations, and agricultural colleges confirmed Letterly's preliminary findings, and their reports added valuable information. Alert feed manufacturers heard the news and demanded that the striking new growth factor be made available to farmers. And almost overnight, scientists and production men at Letterly's huge Pearl River plant went to work on the seemingly endless problems of translating laboratory information into practical farm facts. The same vast facilities that produce the many well-known life-saving Letterly products concentrated on making the new growth factor available for farm animals. They planned and produced a brand new product. And soon, human life-saving manufacturing facilities were at work on a new animal growth-promoting job. The same intricate scientific machinery used to produce aureomycin buckled down to the production of a new product called Orofac. This product, containing vitamin B12 and the new antibiotic growth factor, was made available to feed manufacturers in several forms. Different proportions of ingredients were planned so that feed manufacturers themselves could formulate feeds and supplements tailored precisely to the needs of their customers. Even though the product was launched, there was no room for complacency, for animal feed facts are proved on the farm. Thanks to your forward-looking feed manufacturer, the final proof was soon to come. It is your feed manufacturer's business to have storage facilities and all the precise, costly equipment to formulate feeds that give the best results on the farms in the localities he serves. His machines must duplicate the prescription accuracy of hand-mixed feeds used in animal nutrition research. It takes equipment, know-how, and skill to formulate a new feed supplement these days, when an important nutritional item may be measured in grams per ton. It's a big job to translate the information obtained from animal experiment stations, educational research institutions, and the great industries which provide the components that go into the feeds. But feed manufacturers, both large and small, saw in the new aureomycin growth factor a profit potential for farmers. Soon, trucks carrying new formulated feeds and supplements rolled out over the countryside. Now, farmers throughout the nation embarked on the payoff test that proved under actual farm conditions the value of the antibiotic growth factor. Right from the start, the addition of aureomycin to an already balanced ration established nutritional records never before equaled under practical farm conditions. Early weight gains were more rapid. Growing and fattening periods were shortened. The incidence of diarrhea and enteritis was greatly reduced, and early death losses were markedly reduced. And the amazing profit potential of what had been a laboratory curiosity began to be recognized.
These pigs average 45 pounds, and they're only 8 weeks old to the day. My record shows that aureomycin saves 20 pounds of feed for every 100 pounds of weight gained.
In a meat bird production operation of this size, you'll have to keep accurate figures, and mine show that adding aureomycin to the regular balanced feeds steps up the rate of growth.
My birds reach a 3-pound average 8 full days sooner than the same birds under same conditions with the same feed without the antibiotic.
My turkeys do better on aureomycin than Henry's chickens. Look at that flock. No calls there.
Both calves get the same diet. This calf without aureomycin supplement, this calf with it. Take your time. Look them over. Without aureomycin supplement? With aureomycin.
I market my hogs 12 days earlier. That's 12 days I don't have to foot their feed bill. And you've got to remember that hogs that stay to dinner miss the early market prices.
The biggest thing for me is the way the aureomycin seems to lick the scours.
Early reports from users of aureomycin seem almost too optimistic. Of course, it isn't a cure-all. It isn't a substitute for a balanced ration, and it won't take the place of good breeding and good management. There are still scores of diseases totally unaffected by the small amounts of antibiotics added to feed supplements. Therefore, the wise farmer relies on his veterinarian to diagnose and treat disease if it occurs on his place. However, the truly remarkable results, almost universally reported by aureomycin users, are changing our ideas of what constitutes a good feed and of just what constitutes good health. A new field of disease prevention in animal feeding is developing. On this same farm, there's an excellent example of what can happen when preventive feeding is not used. Many birds in this laying flock have failed to achieve their full growth potential. The bird or animal that fails to realize its growth potential, although seemingly healthy, is suffering from what in humans we call subclinical disease. Compare these two birds. Judge for yourself. The profitable one is easy to choose. Birds that fail to make expected gains can be just as costly as dead birds, although it may be harder to put your finger on the cause. Such losses due to poor health are avoided by farmers who use preventive feeding. That is, feed containing small quantities of a drug designed to prevent disease. Small quantities of a drug called Megasol are fed continuously in broiler mash to prevent outbreaks of coccidiosis. Broiler raisers used to expect coccidiosis to take 100 birds out of each 1,000. Today, those who use Megasol, from the time the chicks receive their first feed to the time they reach market weight, cut coccidiosis losses to 10 birds out of 1,000. So you see, preventive feeding is an important part of modern scientific meat bird production. The proof is in the profit. The way those extra 90 birds in each 1,000 puff up the check at the processing plant is very important. But there are also other unlooked-for profits when Megasol and aureomycin are combined. The birds show faster weight gains and increased feed efficiency. Practically all of them realize their full growth potential. Thousands of reports indicate that Megasol plus aureomycin treated birds average half a pound more at market time. And a deep-breasted bird with good color always has the edge these days. The plain truth is, modern processing plants prefer to handle only the best. There is always a market for really top-quality meat products. Mrs. Housewife can be mighty choosy. All meat products are subjected to the same critical consumer scrutiny these days. So the successful merchants and processors and producers use the most up-to-date methods available to them. The whole industry is fast learning one important and very up-to-date fact. The fact that disease prevention is more effective, more scientific, more profitable than trying to cure disease. And as a result, all over the country, animals are healthier, weight gains are faster, feed efficiency is improving. Yes, we're in the golden age of poultry and livestock feeding. Today's bag of manufactured feed contains the latest nutritional developments, such as Letterly's aureomycin, which is the key that unlocks the door to full growth potentials for your poultry and livestock. It is also the key that unlocks the door to more dollars for better farm living.